Hey everyone, so I'm gonna just go down my list of everyone's questions and get right to it in lieu of class today. Um, this isn't my favorite book, but it's okay with me that we're not talking about it more. Um, but it's still kind of a bummer because these are good questions and I think it would be really productive for us to talk about them, especially because class was so slim on Monday and we didn't talk too much about our close reading of the book as much um, as the final presentation, which was still helpful, but I don't know. So first with reactions, I'll just go along it seems everyone's still confused, which I would agree with, and I'm a little surprised that Amber said this was her favorite thing we've read so far, just because I know I personally think it's my least favorite thing we've read so far, and I know Justin feels that way because we talked about that in class on Monday. So I just thought that was surprising, but not bad or anything. And then I would also agree with Justin that it's still kind of a chore to read. Like when we read Lolita, I was super excited to do my assignments for class, and with this, I'm just kind of like, okay, I'll keep going, but oh well, I'm learning. So, for Amber's question about the passage on 164, how does this characterize Veronica? Um, well, because she said, I hated her for this, and for this is, she wrote that passage in French, and her French teacher saw it, read it, and then, acknowledged it. I think Veronica hated it, and then hated it because she wants to hide, and going down a little, the thing is there was great privacy in a big family, and so she's used to being able to do a lot of things and get away with it just because she has 11 siblings and her parents seem to always be off doing other things like conceiving more children. So people aren't in her business too much. But the thing that I think could be argued with this whole paragraph, which goes a little bit before Amber's passage. I wrote them in French so no one would understand, except Mrs. Gogarty, of course, who was the French teacher. I think that's really important that Veronica's writing this in French class, because it's kind of like almost she wants to be found out under the guise that she doesn't want to be found out. So if that makes sense. I feel like I could explain it better in class if I knew everyone was on the same page as I am right now, but she wants to hide, but because she's so used to hiding, she wants someone to acknowledge her feelings. I think that could be something, just because if she wrote it in French in history, yeah, the teacher's not going to notice or care or understand. So I think that's a really significant part of the passage that complicates Veronica's internal feelings versus what she's even putting on the page. So that would have been a really good thing to discuss, I think. And then on Justin's passage 191, yeah, this one's confusing too. I noticed there's a lot of references to ghosts, and that's in mine for today too. The headrest ghost, and now her brother's a ghost, but that one at least makes sense because he's dead. Yeah, I don't even know. I tried to think before I started this vlog, and I feel like this is such an odd passage. Obviously, she dressed him in Wellington boots in her mind because she can't dress his body, I don't think. And I guess she does say in my mind. So yeah, I think in her mind she's dressing him in what era she believes her brother would best fit in, and that's related to just the characterization of him thus far. Especially going above that, he always seemed a bit of a throwback. So, yeah. I feel like this is a really weird sentence. So I guess, yeah, if he always came home, he always seemed a bit of a throwback. That's why she dressed him in her mind in an old-fashioned way. Emigrant, I don't think is a strange word for the sentence because he did move to England. And then in her mind, he's back. It says Irish 70s, dipped back into the 50s. So maybe, I mean, Wellingtons I think are a big thing in Ireland because it rains, but they could be a big thing in England too. I feel like I'm just rambling now, but I mean, good job, Justin, for picking out a very odd sentence. Yeah, I think this also does a lot of characterizing of Veronica, that she thinks in this way of her brother being a ghost and then what she would dress him in. She's not like your typical mourner, I don't think. I know when I've lost people close to me, I don't picture them as ghosts, so I don't know. And then for my Kina's passage, I also marked this because, I mean, number one, it's the start of a chapter, so it really stands out. And then number two, it has really no substance related to the plot. Not that there is much of a plot, but it just seems, I know random's not a good word, it just seems so out of place, I guess. Because they don't even know this man. And I think if they knew the man, it would be more of a big deal and more understandable as to why it's included. But another part of this passage that, I guess the whole page, that really stood out to me is I had no idea what tertiary syphilis is. Like, I've heard of syphilis, but I don't know what tertiary means about that. And then how the following paragraph, Kitty said the man in front of us had tertiary syphilis. Like, to me, that makes me think of Written on the Body, because I just can't, unless I'm just very like uneducated, but they're children, and it just seems really weird that a child would look at someone and be able to assess their physical appearance and know right away that that person has that disease. So when I say it's like written on the body, it's like those moments that are like so unbelievable, but are surrounded by things that are totally realistic. It's just very odd, and I don't really know why they're there. But why are these odd moments so significant? I think that, you know, these moments might not be significant in like the exact content, but just showing us kind of just snapshots of what Veronica does remember, because she's mentioned so many times throughout this book that she doesn't have a very good memory. Like, she said specifically at one point, I can't remember Liam's face when he was 9, 10, or 12 or something like that. Like, but she seems to have very clear memories of other things that don't seem as significant. So I guess it could be characterizing her in that, you know, she can't remember her brother's face at certain times, and that might trouble her because her brother just died, but she can, you know, she kept room in her memory for such odd and like seemingly insignificant moments, like seeing a man at mass once, if that makes sense. I'm not convinced any of my answers to any of these questions are that good, and that's why I'm bummed we don't have discussion, because I feel like being able to bounce these ideas off people would have made it so much better. But at least I got to get home early. I don't know. I'm really sorry you have the flu, Steven. I feel your pain. It's the worst thing, like, ever. But I look forward to doing some more discussion of this book on Monday. I think it's the last time we'll be discussing this one. So I'm not too upset about that. But hopefully, if we have time on Monday after our presentations, we could get back to some of these questions, because I do think everyone's questions today were really good, and I mean, they're questions and reactions that I've had while reading this too. So I'll see you all on Monday.